this is a message to everyone here that if you want to opt for a position besides president and VP education, please feel free to send me a message. And okay, so everyone, this is your impromptu sergeant at arms, Talha bin Hamid. Welcome to this first historic meeting of Quantum Leap Toastmasters Club. Thank you all for enlisting for the club and for joining the meeting. Normally, there are protocols for every Toastmasters meeting, and the protocols for this one are that you are strongly encouraged to turn on your videos, but keep your microphones turned off unless it's your turn to speak. Secondly, of course, we do avoid some controversial topics like sex, religion, and politics. So this is a global club, and it it is not really necessary that we lay down the line so strongly, but all the participants are strongly encouraged to respect all faiths, religions, and uh, belief systems whenever they're speaking. So, thirdly, of course, it is my honor and a pleasure to declare this meeting open and hand over the charge to our president, DTM Saif Ali Sheikh. DTM Saif Ali Sheikh is one of the pillars of Toastmasters community, not only on a Pakistan level, but on a global level. He has won a presidential citation. He has been leading, he has served various positions, including district governor of District 79, back when they were called governors. Uh, and his services to the Toastmasters community, particularly in the Middle East and surroundings, and now to the community in District 122, are always worth recalling and preserving. So, DTM Saif Ali Sheikh, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, DTM Talha bin Hamid, our district directors. And fellow Toastmasters, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and Assalamu alaikum, wherever you are in the corner of the world. Today is Big Bang. If I'm saying the Big Bang, Toastmaster DTM Talha rightly mentioned about it, we forgotten to read the science and the fiction. So let's make a platform where we can revive our reading habit toward the science and the fiction. Believe in me, what Talha is doing for the community is remarkable. And his initiative, his pain, his efforts is going to be recognized all around the world in the name of Quantum Leap Toastmaster Club. We are all here to learn from each other, to grow each other, share our knowledge and the wisdom and experience with others. So in return, we are going to grow in multi-dimension. So there is no barrier, no hurdle in between us, regardless we are in one corner of the world or another corner of the world, but we are just connected. So we are a living example of global village. We can share our thoughts, we can share our feelings. Similarly, we are going to learn from each other, from other corner of the world, and each and every one of us having a different perspective of different things. And the Toastmaster, the beauty of the Toastmaster, that we are getting the knowledge and the wisdom from all other aspects. Today is a genesis of Quantum Leap Toastmaster Club. And we are very much fortunate that you are a founder pillar. If I'm saying that you are the founder pillar, in the rest of our life, whoever is going to join Quantum Leap, they will say, oh, Khurram Saeed, he's a charter member. Talha is a charter member. Mubina is a charter member. Sky is a charter member. Imran is a charter member. Fortunately, I'm a member of the Lahore Toastmaster Club. And it was surprising for me to know the name of charter members, except one. We are failed to see it. And I'm trying to bring them back into the loop. The same thing is going to be happen here. Inshallah, that our club and our charter members, we are going to celebrate our first anniversary over here with the same platform, or maybe we'll join together in some places, maybe at the international convention, we all together and raising the bar. By having said this, let's move to the education one. And to lead the education sessions, I have come across with so many leaders around the world. And I have seen that there is one person who is 48 by 14 available. You just send the message. Within a 1 minute time, you will get the response. I'm surprised that he is working on one of the organization, or he's a paid Toastmaster like me. I'm always calling myself is a paid Toastmaster. So you just send the message to him. Immediately you will get the reply. He's energetic, enthusiastic, and you will see him that his energy level is never coming down. Day by day, he is more energetic, enthusiastic, and I'm wishing that he must have to maintain his energy level right after the district director position. Please put your hand together, welcoming District 122 Director, DTM Talha bin Hamid. Over to Talha bin Hamid.
Thank you so much, DTM Saif Ali Sheikh, and for raising the audience's expectations to the stratosphere through your introduction. I doubt I'll be able to live up to them, but here's hoping and trying. So everyone, welcome to this incredible meeting. Why is I already call it incredible? Because of the participants from around the world. They are all incredible. This will be slightly different from a conventional Toastmasters meeting because, as I earlier said, that perhaps the long-term future and sustainability of every Toastmasters club is to find a reason to exist. And our reason to exist is science and knowledge and mutual learning. So the first session of this club will always be a keynote speech. And today, then we will have, of course, the education session, which will be 2 prepared speeches, and they will be evaluated under the advanced evaluation scheme. Then there will be a table topic session, which will be an impromptu session. And after that, of course, there will be journal evaluation. So starting from our role players for today, every Toastmasters meeting has a slew of role players which help the meeting and make the meeting happen. So we have our language evaluator for today, Sir Mubina Rose. Toastmaster Mubina, welcome. It's an honor and a privilege to have you. Please introduce your role.
Good morning, good evening, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Congratulations to everybody on attending this charter meeting. And the name is quite intriguing, Quantum Charter, Quantum Club. So, My role today is that of a language evaluator. The word of the day is Genesis. Its origin is Latin, and the meaning is also origin, birth, or creation, or beginning. It means the origin or mode of formation of something. For example, this tale has its genesis in Gothic stories. So this is how we can use it. But today is a big day. It's the genesis of this club. And my role will be to note down the good and not so good usages of language. And I will report this when I'm called upon during the evaluation session. Mr. Toastmaster of the day, back to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mubina Roof, for that beautiful description of the role. Next, we have our timer of the day, Toastmaster Jahanzeb Shah. Toastmaster Jahanzeb, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. So I'll be, performing the role of timer today, and I'll be showing my screen, and I'll be changing my background like this. So I have logged into this meeting with my two devices. So you need to pin the timer's screen on your devices, so you can see the changing of my background to understand what the timing is. And like every Toastmasters meeting, there is, all the segments are timed, and we can see the timing on our agenda sheet. So prepared speeches, evaluation, and all the segments will be timed. And I'll be presenting my report at the end of the meeting. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Jahanzeb Shah. And just in the way of short introduction, Toastmaster Jahanzeb Shah is the immediate past president of Storytellers Toastmasters Club, and he's also the VP Education of Al Karam Toastmasters Club and a VP PR of Storytellers. So, to my knowledge, this is the third club that he's involved with. If there are more, I don't know about them yet. Next, we have someone very special. She is a possessor of a superior intellect and absolutely fantastic powers of expression. And those who know him will surely know her will surely agree with me. So Toastmaster Meher Tanveer, your role as our counter.
Thank you so much, District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid, for that superlative introduction and setting the standard so high that I'm going to fall flat on my face straight off. But greetings to you all, fellow Toastmasters and guests from around the world. So excited to be at the pre-charter meeting of the Quantum Leap, also my favorite TV show from my childhood days, Toastmasters Club. As the R counter, we are all seasoned Toastmasters here, but let me repeat and let me remind you that I will be looking out for crutch words and sounds as well that are pause fillers. For example, overused words such as and, well, but, so, and filler sounds such as so let's avoid those. Also, if you repeat a phrase too many times, such as I, this means, I will note that down as well. So please excuse my dictatorial methods, but I will be reporting your words and sounds at the end of the meeting, and I have begun counting. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Wow, that was scary, Toastmaster Meher Tanveer, but this is exactly what we need. I always say that the primary purpose of an R counter is to make everyone feel miserable. And I have a strong feeling that you will completely fit the bill. Next, we have our first deviation from a routine Toastmasters meeting, and that segment is called Geek of the Week. So what is Geek of the Week? A Geek of the Week is when we allow one of the members to introduce a piece of fiction, either written or in movie form, or a TV show that they want and the audience to see and experience towards the pursuit of scientific knowledge. So today, our Geek of the Week is Toastmaster Saad Shoaib, and he will be introducing something he loves. And Mr. Timer, the timing for this is 5 minutes, so maybe 4, 4:30, and 5.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid. Honorable Toastmasters, dear guests, welcome to the first ever historic meeting of Quantum Leap Toastmaster Club. My role will be to be the Geek of the Week. And for this week, I would like to introduce it's actually a show that I really like. It's called The Arrow. Why do I like this show? Well, actually, it has all of the things you would want to actually spend your time. It has excitement, it has thrills, and it also makes you watch show after show, episode after episode, season after season, over and over again. But the one thing that I actually like is that it's actually realistic. It shows the hardships of life. It shows that life isn't fair, and it shows that the person is actually affected by by the life events and the life event he went through, and that actually changed him to be a person who fights for the people for the people around him, his friends, his family, his town, everyone. So that's why I highly recommend you watch the Arrow this week, because you will not regret it. Over to you, Toastmaster Talha.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Saad Shoaib. This is one of the shows that my sister used to watch quite avidly. And as a rule, since a sibling watched that, I made it my life mission to not to watch that ever. But now, based on your recommendation, maybe I'll reconsider. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Saad Shoaib. Next, we have our keynote. And for our keynote, we have someone really special. Sky Nelson Isaacs, is that Isaacs? Am I right? Yeah. Is a physics educator, speaker, author, and musician. He has bachelor's and master's degrees in physics. Nelson Isaacs has explored his own sense of purpose since childhood as a student of the yogic master Sri Swami Saad. I'll skip that. Discovering an early fascination with holograms and some of the most fundamental questions in physics, he has sought for over 2 decades to establish a connection between synchronicity, physics, and practical life using original research. His most recent research, Space-Time Paths as a Whole, has been published in the scientific journal Quantum Reports. An educator with 9 years of classroom experience, Nelson Isaacs is also a multi-instrumentalist and professional performer of award-winning musical compositions. So you fit the classical stereotype of a world-changing scientist in that you are active in so many disciplines, including music. And so many great scientists in the past have also somehow found a link to music. You're also into spirituality, which is precisely what we are looking for in this club, that when the limits of science exhaust, or maybe the answers stop coming, maybe we need to look somewhere else. So without further ado, I will invite Sky Nelson Isaacs, and the session will be 20 minutes. Timer, please note, and that will be followed by a 10 minutes Q&A session. So everyone, whatever questions you have, please note them down, and when the Q&A session starts, you can note them down in the chat box and we can present them to Sky. So Sky, the science of wholeness, synchronicity, and flow. Everyone, please put your hands together. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. The honor is truly mine, and I'm just going to take a moment to express that through silent appreciation of all of you and your welcoming, smiling faces. Thank you so much for inviting me into your community. And it sounds like you can hear me okay, so I'm going to continue.
Yes, yes.
My name is Sky Nelson Isaacs, and I'm going to talk to you about the science of wholeness today and synchronicity and flow. And the research I've done has been in the field of quantum foundations, which is the study of the foundational aspects, the foundational questions about quantum mechanics. Why do we study it? What does it really tell us? What are the philosophical implications? What are the ways in which the theory can be improved? Because we know that there's some aspects of quantum mechanics and quantum field theory that are not really complete yet. So these are the questions that many people avoid because they're too difficult, too abstract maybe, but for some folks it's very interesting. So I have two books, Living in Flow and Leap to Wholeness. So I want to ask a question today that I think you'll understand pretty quickly as we go and why it's important. I want to start with a quote from the movie Contact, which is based on a book by Carl Sagan. And Jodie Foster is the astronaut who's being shown around the cosmos and the wonders of the space and the galaxies that she travels through. And the wisdom that's being imparted by this alien life consciousness is the following. The consciousness says, in all of our travels, we've found that the only thing we've found that makes the emptiness bearable is each other. And this reminder that in our sense of isolation or separation that we may feel sometimes, we are in this moment together on the phone across the world, and it shows how connected we are to each other. And I so appreciate that. And I learned in the writing of my most recent book that loneliness or perceived isolation is associated with a 20 to 30% increase in mortality. And people around the world are experiencing this sense of loneliness or isolation. And I want to establish that maybe that is partly because of the worldview that we come from. The sense that we are all separate from each other, that we are all distinct, and that is the entire reality. Now, obviously, we are distinct from each other, but is that the entire reality? I want to talk about establishing a science of wholeness, and it's not too far to reach to start to see how this must be true. And I think that a science of wholeness can transform human nature through a scientific understanding of our connectedness. So we can have open conversations about polarization, privilege, equity, empowerment, justice, and climate change. These are some of the aspects that I think are crucial for us to be addressing. And this is a framework that I think we can begin to do that. So the question I want to pose to you to start with is, can things always be broken into separate parts? Can things always be broken into separate parts? And you can see here in the top, we have a picture of a landscape of a city. And I've shown you that the pixels that we associate with that city are separate parts from each other. Down below, you can see I've removed some of the pixels. And each pixel is independent of every other pixel. So I can remove a pixel here and you just see part of the sky disappear or part of the building disappear. This is a reductionist approach to understanding things. We can separate everything independently. But there's another way to break down a photograph like this. Anybody who's worked with digital design understands what I'm about to show you. If we think about the picture of the world as the territory, then we can map it using a process called the Fourier transform. And what we're doing is we're converting it into the frequency domain, or what I call pattern space, just to make it simpler. Okay, because what we're really talking about is breaking apart the the city into patterns, not pixels. And these patterns are literally just stripes that go in different orientations across the screen. And it's amazing, you can break up, so every point on the map here corresponds to a different pattern that you would put on the screen to create the city, to create the territory. And if you fed the map on the right into a computer, it would be able to convert it into the territory on the left. So it's a very, very familiar process. Let me show you what it looks like. So here's an example of a pattern that's represented by 2 points in space, a point to the upper left and a point to the lower right. And so these 2 points in the map, in the frequency domain, encode what we see in the territory, very simply. It's a very simple bit of information shown here. So if I add more frequencies, I start to get a more complicated pattern, right? I can add thousands of frequencies together and it gets more and more complicated. But here's where you start to see the magic, because when you add enough of them, you start to see that there is an emergent pattern that you encoded into the pictures. The image that you wanted to see emerges from all these patterns interrelating to each other. So I can create the city from pixels. I can have a reductionist perspective where I add all the pixels at once and I get the picture of the city. But I can do that with patterns as well. I can start with just a bunch of patterns going in different directions. When I get enough of them there of the right kind, they interfere with each other to create the image of the city that I wanted to show you. So this is the difference between reductionism and holism. Because on the right, when I construct it from patterns, it's the relationships that create the final image. The pixels are all independent of each other, but the patterns are all interrelated to each other. And this is why understanding holism in our world is so important, because it emphasizes the relationships between us that influence our sense of isolation and loneliness or connectedness and interdependence. If I wanted to remove a building from this picture, it's very easy in the left with the pixels. I just carve out the pixels and remove them. But if I asked you to remove a building from the picture on the right using patterns, you couldn't do it, because everything, all the patterns you would need to remove to get rid of one building would affect every other building. You'd see an effect everywhere, a blurring and artifacts. In the following way, I can create a filter which removes some of the data in the map. And you can see that it affects the territory as a whole. The entire picture gets blurry. So a local specific change to the map affects the entire territory. This is the relationship of the frequency domain with the spatial domain, which, by the way, is the foundation of quantum mechanics, position and momentum. That's the relationship we're talking about. I can do an opposite filter where I just keep the high frequencies and remove the low frequencies. And this magically identifies all of the edges in my photograph. It's called an edge finder. So I didn't tell it where the edges were. I just kept the high frequencies and it told me where the edges were. A hologram is an even more amazing illustration of wholeness in the frequency domain. So a hologram is a piece of film which captures the frequency domain directly by letting light fall in it directly from an object, like the city. And it looks like there's objects of 3 dimensions on here that are overlapping each other. But when you lift up the film, you see there's nothing there. It's just a trick of light bouncing off of the film and interacting with or interrelating with the pattern that's encoded there. And so the encoding of the building appears to your eyes to be 3-dimensional. But really, it's just a pattern of interference on the screen. So in this example of the hologram, I'm going to show you 3 different angles that you can look at the hologram from. The white circle is just the light source, so you can ignore that. The triangle is there to mark the center of the physical film. So that's a place on the film where you could actually put a piece of tape or something and mark that spot. Now, when we tilt our perspective on the film, we're going to see the buildings move, right? Because the perspective is changing in 3 dimensions. But that's an illusion created by the hologram. That's what makes it so special. what I want to bring to your attention is really amazing here. If you go ahead and you look at this left picture, you're looking from the left side of the film, you're going to see a particular building in the center of the film. If I'm on the right side of the film over here, and I'm looking at the same point on the film, the same physical space, I'm going to see a different building. I'm going to see the large building. We see something different. Each perspective is a unique story, but they're based upon the same whole. And so we find that the reality changes with our perspective. You follow me? So what's so important about this is that the research I've done, which I was published this past year in the journal Quantum Reports, called Space-Time Paths as a Whole, the essence of it is to show that the mathematics of the Feynman path integral and quantum mechanics and the foundation of quantum field theory is essentially a recursive Fourier transform. It's the same mathematics as a hologram. And so there's a sense in which these are indistinguishable. The actual physical world we live in seems to be indistinguishable from a hologram. And so if a hologram behaves this way, that it's actually programmed to help us see different things, we can look at the same physical point in space and see something different from somebody else. What does that tell us about our actual world? Where we can both read the same piece of news, but based upon our different conditioning, our different cultural contexts, our different gender, we're going to read something different. We're going to take in different meaning from what we read. Or when we listen to someone give a talk, we're going to take in different meaning from that talk based upon those factors. So it's very important that we have this going into our conversations, because if we don't, we're set up for failure. We're set up to be shown different things when we look at the same thing and expect to be finding commonality. But we find differences because what we see reinforces what we already believe. It reinforces our perspective. So I want to impart an awareness that when we go into any conversation, we are approaching it with the filters that we bring to it, that are influencing what we perceive to be the reality. And the reality changes with our perspective, like it does in this hologram. So we've looked at how space is holographic by looking at that photograph and the frequency domain of it. We can also look at how time is holographic and look at the frequency domain of a path of particle traveling through space and time. So here we have a particle of light traveling from the sun to the earth. And what we find is that each path that it could travel is like one of those images that's encoded into the frequency domain. And every possible path is encoded separately into the frequency domain as a whole. So instead of thinking of light traveling moment by moment from the sun to the earth, we have to think about light traveling as a whole on a journey completely from this 8-minute time period from the sun to the earth. And there are many different possible paths that you can see here going in different directions based upon what it might strike along the way, a piece of dust or a little rock or something. And it's not until the end point when we observe the light itself on Earth that that particular path as a whole becomes the one that is true. There's a retroactiveness here, that the path is determined by the end point. And so wholeness is about a system that is determined not just by the beginning initial conditions, but also by the final conditions. And the path as a whole is determined by both of these beginning and final points. So I want to invite you to think about time in this following way. Instead of life coming at you like a ticking watch that you have to sort of be ruled by, think of it like a journey, a timeline that you're walking along. Time is no longer a point in space, but a journey along a line. And when you start to think about time as a line, as a whole trajectory, you start to think about what's the narrative, what's the plot of this line, where is it going to, and where is it coming from? And there are these branching points along this journey at which we make choices and which we have interactions that affect our lives. Those are the flags that you see along the timeline. And the fence post model of time is what really comes to mind here, because we have moments where we have connection and information that we gain from our interactions. And in between, we have no information. And it's this in-between time when we have no information that it's important to have a sense of awareness to pause and wait for the next bit of information. So I'll tell a story about this. When I was in grad school, I returned to go to grad school as an adult. I had a child who was 6 years old, and I had to travel about 3 hours to get to school each day. So when they invited me to go on a camping trip at school, I thought, well, that sounds really fun, but I've got adult responsibilities and it's very far from my house, so I don't think I can do it. So I just sat with that for a couple of weeks. And just the day before the trip, a friend asked me, are you going to come on the trip, the camping trip? And I said, well, I can't because I live so far away. But by the way, where's the camping trip at? And they said, well, it's at the Sugarloaf Ridge Observatory. And I said, wait, that's 10 minutes from my house. So they were leaving the city, coming to where I lived in order to go on this camping trip. And I hadn't even asked that question. So I assumed that, I got the first piece of information. The first fence post was, we're going on this camping trip. But then there was this gap between the fence posts with the information I didn't have the information. And I'm so glad that I asked where it was in time to get that piece of information to be able to go on the trip. Because if I had waited till the day after, that would have been, I would have missed the opportunity. So in between these fence posts, in between the information we get that fixates the world for us, there's this openness, this uncertainty that we can become more familiar with, more comfortable with, because it's from this uncertainty that synchronicity unfolds, that chances unfold, which are unpredictable to us. And it's often our filters that keep us from seeing these chances. Our filters like my believing that it was too far to go. So I want to take us away from the question, how do we get something from nothing? Because I think we ask this question in so much of our mythology. The Big Bang is that to begin with, it's starting with this question, how do I get something from nothing? We explode all the particles in the cosmos from the void, from the vacuum. But that's not what our world is like, because this presumes us an atmosphere of lack, that we don't have anything if we don't try. And I think that we actually walk into a world every day that's more like a garden. Things are growing in our life all the time. There's opportunities available to us every day. And if we don't actively do something with our life, we still have opportunities showing up in our life. We still have a day to fill. So the question that I ask is, how do we get something from everything? Because in the frequency domain, we start with all the patterns possible. And from that, we determine which particular filter we're going to apply. And when I'm walking through a garden, I'm not necessarily planting new seeds every day, right? I'm actually weeding the garden. It's more about choice. So I'm looking at what are the filters I'm using on my perception of reality, and how do these influence what I'm choosing, what something I'm getting from the everything around me. To illustrate this a little bit, think of a rainbow. A rainbow is when you have white light shining from the sun, it bounces off the clouds, and it gets separated into the colors. And remember that a rainbow, where you see red, it's not because the sun is shining red there. It's because the sun is shining white there, and the clouds are removing the blue. So where you see red is white minus blue. Where you see blue is white minus red. So a rainbow is beautiful because of what is not there. And similarly, this leads to this concept of filters, that we have partial stories on the world. This dress you might recognize from a meme that went around, where if you think this picture was taken in bright sunshine, then you think it's in shadow. And so the dress appears to be lighter than it would be, white and gold. But if you assume this picture was taken indoors, you assume it's actually darker because it's under bright light. So you assume the dress is blue and black. So we have the color we see depends on what we assume is going on around us, our context. And these filters that we construct, they lead to partial stories. And our partial stories, they feel complete. If I look through the red lens here and I just imagine that somebody is mad at me, I might not be willing to ask them for help. But that's just a filter that I'm looking through. It may not reflect the whole reality, but it feels so complete that I'm unlikely to actually ask for the help that I need. So how do we expand our stories? I'll offer a brief process to listen to life, listen to the circumstances that are emerging for you, open your mind to the possibilities that there's something new for you to learn, reflect on your circumstances, wait for the synchronicities in your life, what movies you see, what books you read, what conversations you have that influence your thinking. and give you some more insight into your dilemma. And then release your old attachments, your old way of thinking. And then from there, you can act. When you act from this place, you're acting in response to the cosmos that you live in. And then repeating this process. You're always in the stance of listening and getting to the next thing. So I would invite you to think about how stepping into wholeness can expand your filters. And every day we have opportunities to either collapse into a well-known track of thinking or expand into an openness. And when we expand into openness, we have more insecurity, more uncertainty, but we also the possibility of integrating many different parts into a greater whole. So thank you for the time to speak with you today. I've got a couple of events here that you can see that are coming up that you can interact with me on. And it's been my great pleasure to speak with you about my research today. Thank you so much. I hope it's made an impact.
Thank you so much, Sky Nelson Isaacs. I believe I speak for everyone when I say that you just changed our worlds through your speech. Never have I ever looked at something like this, that in order to create something, you don't need to create something out of nothing. You have to remove the excess flap and it's already there. So somehow my mind is cast back to the double slit experiment and the Avengers Endgame alternative timelines. So absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I don't know, this sounds like a theory of everything to me, or at least something in that direction. So with that, I will invite our audience to either raise their hand for a 10-minute question and answer session, or please put your questions in the chat. Okay, so I will start with the first question because I had this in my mind. And your presentation seemed to second that I have a feeling that whatever we see around us, whatever we notice about the universe, is largely a construct of our senses. And so how do you remove that limitation?
The internal sense of what we're feeling, being aware of what we're internally experiencing, I think that is the key element of identifying what filter we're looking through. So we have the faculties of our mind, we have the faculties of our feelings, we have our physical sensations in our body, and all three of these are clues to what we're reacting to. I find that when I'm in a situation where I'm looking at the world a certain way, I'm usually reacting to something that's happened to me or something that's been said. You know, take the example of coming home from work and you had a really difficult day. You're angry at somebody at work. Well, the cat comes up to you and rubs against your leg. It wants affection, but it's just irritating because all you can see is through that lens of your filter. Everything to you feels angry and irritated because that's the space that you are in. That's you're perceiving everything through that lens. So by being aware of the internal state, we can, I think, become more objective in our understanding of the wholeness of what's really happening around us.
That was absolutely fantastic. And again, a whole new paradigm of looking at things. We have a question from Toastmaster Rabia Zeeshan. What made you connect to science? What made you connect science to how we see the world? I want to know what made you pursue this field.
Oh, I love that question. I feel blessed that in college, we actually built a hologram in college, and I got to in a lab with just two of us. We had instructions. They told us how to do it. They had a table for us to do this on in the dark, and we built a hologram, and I got to see it for myself. I went to University of California at Berkeley, and I just knew when I saw it that there was something even deeper than what they were telling me about. Like we didn't have a direct instruction about what this really meant. You could just see that there was a wholeness to it that wasn't really in the literature. And I read about holograms, and I knew that everybody who, Gabor, who invented it, these people knew what they were doing. But the fundamental importance of the wholeness, the holographic relationship of a one to all relationship was lost in the foundational theory. And so when you look at quantum mechanics, which is a relationship between position and momentum, or energy and time, and you see this holographic relationship, but you don't see that reflected in the understanding of what it really means about our world, I gradually came to really believe that view of the Fourier transform as a really powerful sort of ontology for the world was worth pursuing.
Thank you so much, Sky. And we have a raised hand from Toastmaster Muiz. Toastmaster Muiz, please go ahead with your question. Toastmaster Muiz, we can't hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yes. My question is, when we talk, since in the presentation it was talked about that it takes about 8 minutes to reach sunlight to the earth, and there are several theories which discuss on can we travel faster than light, and they use the phenomenon of white holes and black holes. So how much it can be explored, that how much of the truest theory that we enter into black hole and exit out of the white hole, and we can travel that much of a speed, because at light no matter can travel at the speed of light.
Right. Let me pose a different question that I think is even more profound and directly we know to be really true. That when we talk about, I showed you why from a Fourier transform perspective, the path as a whole exists from the sun to the earth. But if you just look at special relativity tells us that when you go close to the speed of light, time gets slower and space gets smaller. And if you were to go at the speed of light, what would light itself register? It would not register any separation at all. And Gilbert Lewis is a physicist and chemist who called this virtual contact, that we're in virtual contact with the sun all the time, because there's the Lorentz interval is the space-time interval. It's 0 for light. It's called a null interval. So there is a very real mathematical sense in which the separation between us and the sun is 0. The separation between us and Andromeda galaxy is 0. For light, it's nice to think about light traveling, for 8 minutes or traveling for 2 million light years, 2 million years. But what does light actually register? Nothing. So the cosmos is interconnected because the beginning point and the end point of the light are not separate from each other. And if you think about what that really means when you're observing quasars, 10 million light years away, it blows your mind and changes your perspective on what we think we know about the physical cosmos. So I don't know about traveling through black holes or white holes, but to me, this aspect is really profound.
Thank you so much, Sky. Mr. Timer, how much time do we have for the Q&A?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. So I will pose one more question to Sky, and I'll request the other participants, if they have questions, please share them through my personal WhatsApp, and I'll convey them to Sky. So one question, since you're a musician and I also have been a keen interest in music, I would like to ask you that this reductionist perspective, how does it impact your music, if it does?
I love that question too. And I would say music is also a big part of what inspired me to pursue this, because as a musician, I studied under a teacher named Aladdin Matthew out here in California. And he taught me the mathematics and the structure of musical theory. And I learned how much there is structure to it in just intonation and the octaves and the ratios of sound. And when I first understood string theory, I wanted string theory to be a theory of music, and And that's what I think I'm trying to pursue here, but it's roundabout and I haven't gotten there yet. But music illustrates the mathematics of harmony and waveforms. And what the hologram is just those very waveforms in a different mathematical representation. So when you look at what a hologram, what's actually encoded on the hologram, it's like looking at a lake and the beginning of a rainstorm, when there's drops of water falling on the lake and you see ripples in every direction. That's literally what the microscopic patterns on a hologram look like. And that's a two-dimensional representation of what you would experience on a string of a guitar when you play a note. So it's all the same mathematics. And in fact, the atom, the hydrogen atom, is a example of a three-dimensional spherical harmonic. It's a three-dimensional spherical pattern of vibration, which is set up that gives the electronic pattern for chemistry. So chemistry is all related to this as well. So it's just a beautiful example, and the Fourier transform plays into all of this.
Thank you so much, Sky. And one thing I find fascinating about music is how different notes affect your thinking and your consciousness. And that is something very real. I've seen some videos analyzing songs and pieces of music, and they definitely say that this note will make you feel strange. This note will resolve into something else.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fascinating for me.
And music helps us come together too. It helps us access different places that are non-intellectual and get into our emotions and unlock the connections that we feel between each other.
Okay, I'll allow one last question. And I'll ask DTM Sudharshan. You had a question. Please go quickly about it. And rest of the queries, please make sure to send them to me on my personal WhatsApp.
Thank you very much, DTM Talha. My question is very related to the pictures that you showed. So you started from a pixel, went on to show us a picture of a city, and then on the frequency patterns as well, you reduced them down to a few lines of frequency. So would it be right to assume that the pixel or the lines of frequency are the genesis or the point of origin of everything that exists? So is it right to assume that the pixel is the indestructible or the infinite elemental cause of this universe?
Well, what we found, actually, what we saw in those pictures was you can look at the world through the pixels in space. Like your TV monitor right now are pixels in space. What I was showing was the wholeness of the patterns, which are actually pixels in the frequency domain, because every pattern corresponds to a point in the frequency domain. So really, we're just looking at whether the pixels are spatial or frequency. If you're talking about frequency pixels, then the spatial relationships are holistic. If you're talking about spatial pixels, then the frequency relationships are holistic. So it's really about the relationship between the two domains, the physical domain and the information domain, if you might want to talk about it that way. And this relationship, which is called the Fourier transform, or can take different forms in different cases, is the fundamental, in my view, the fundamental physics that we're trying to uncover that might be a more fundamental way of looking at quantum mechanics and quantum field theory.
Thank you so much, Sky. And I will strongly urge you to share the details of your future events so that I can share with the members of Quantum Leap. You already showed them on your slideshow, but I'd like to also share that in the WhatsApp group. And words are not enough to thank you for this session. You made us think in a whole new way about a lot of things. In fact, you just turned everything that we thought we knew about the universe, and you led us to challenging it. So that was absolutely beautiful. And what is even more amazing is that there was this whole integration with consciousness and spirituality. And that was really, really absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine.
And I will be sharing some of the questions that I received separately with you too, and you can answer them at your leisure. Now
I put two book recommendations in the chat for folks.
Yeah, sure. I saw that, and everybody, please make a note. That is absolutely fantastic. So now we move on to the next session of our meeting, which is the prepared speeches. And for everyone's For everyone's benefit and to ensure full transparency, we are running 15 minutes behind schedule, but that is because we started 15 minutes late. So right now we are technically on schedule. We will have two speakers today, and the first speaker is Toastmaster Saira Pervez, and she'll be presenting a project from Toastmasters Pathway Mentoring Program, Intro to Toastmasters Mentoring, and the speech title is Mentoring is a Lie. DTM Saif Ali Sheikh, can you please introduce the project? So you're muted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmasters. Toastmaster Saira Pervez is attempting introduction to the Toastmasters mentoring. And the purpose statement, the purpose of this project is for member to clearly define how Toastmasters envision mentoring. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspect of a previous experience as a protege. Over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much. So the timing of the speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Everyone, Toastmaster Saira Pervez, mentoring is a lie. Mentoring is a lie. Toastmaster Saira Pervez.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, DTM Talha. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, how many of us have a mentor in life? And by mentor here, I do not mean the assigned mentors only, but also the mentors that we may have at our workplace, at our family maybe, at our college or university. Show me a thumbs up if you have got mentors in your life. Wonderful. So I have been pondering on this question of what are those features or characteristics that make us accept somebody as our North Star. We feel like following their footsteps. We seek out to them for guidance. And I've reached to the conclusion that a mentor is someone who can lie. Over the course of next 2 to 3 minutes, I'll be explaining the thought process that helped me reach this conclusion. The genesis of this idea came from my participation in an event arranged by the District 122. It was an exhibit event where all of the district members, they had to present some performances. The guest of honor there was the president-elect at that time, and now the president of the Toastmasters International, Miss Margaret Page. It was an online event. When I joined that event 10 minutes earlier, she was already there talking and chirping with other members who had joined earlier. When the event started, she came forth and presented her own speech first. Throughout the event, she kept engaging with the audience, kept on giving us comments on our performances. Now, all of the performances, interestingly, they were in Urdu, at least 95% of them, they were in Urdu. Yet, her sense of listening and understanding, that was so sharp that she could understand the emotion behind that performance. She could tell whether the performance was about a tragedy or it was about some funny poetry like by Toastmaster Ibrarwani, let's say. Now that whole event had a very profound impact on me. I, at that time, started thinking on the fact that she, without being our assigned mentor, she has taught us so many things about mentoring. And when I say that mentor is somebody who can lie, I refer to her. And by lie, I mean that mentor is someone who can lead, who can inspire, and who can engage. She led that event by coming forth with her own speech, which was not a requirement for her. She could have been a dummy guest of honor and just be there. Even the presence of a president-elect as a guest of honor would have been enough for all of us. But she was not content with that. She inspired us by being so punctual. She even shared her pendant with us, and it had all of the values of Toastmasters community written on them: respect, integrity, service to the members, excellence. So that was a very cool way of reminding us of all the values in a very subtle manner without giving us a lecture or a sermon of any sort. And engagement with the audience, that was at the extreme level. She was engaging with the audience through chat, she was communicating verbally. So from there, I understood that it is not necessary to have an assigned title of a mentor. And even while being a Toastmaster, we always have an assigned Toastmaster mentor. Yet, we learn from everybody. This is the spirit of the Toastmasters community. We learn from everyone over here. So everyone in their own place, in their own position, is a mentor for every other person who is listening to them. Ladies and gentlemen, mentors in life, they would reduce your grievances to half, and they would increase your happiness. I would strongly urge all of you to pinpoint the challenges in your life and look for specific mentors in all those areas of challenges. I would like to conclude my speech on a semi-musical note. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, makes you little taller, doesn't mean I am lonely when I am alone. And why? Because I've got mentors around me. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, takes you a little higher, doesn't mean that you are lonely. And why? Anyone?
Because we've got mentors around us.
Perfect, you got it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Saira. Indeed, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Now it is time for our lead evaluator, DTM Saif Ali Sheikh, to lead the evaluation session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmasters and fellow Toastmaster, in particular, Toastmaster Saira. Just one thing I request that I will call Jahanzev first as commendations, and then immediately I will call Talha for recommendation. And again, I will repeat the same thing to Sudharshan to commendation, and then I will ask Imran for a recommendation after my initials. And at the end, I am going to conclude my evaluation too. Toastmaster Saira, you surprise us. You know why you surprise us? You start with the negative word, the lie. Even though I was very much aware of it, that you will come up with a different meaning. But to twist the meaning and the word, that is remarkable, that it goes to you. You started with the Margaret Page the story that he was the guest of honor is one of the event in the Karachi, and that the event mostly in Urdu, but she understands the thoughts and the feeling of the performers. Saira, about this project, the requirement of this project, we are expecting from you that as a protege, what is your feeling and the thought with your mentor? And that is a main requirement for this project. I think if you can share with us your personal stories, what happened, how you approached to the mentor, and how he handled this situation, and after the meeting with the mentors, your feeling and your moral about that particular situation. Another thing, what I felt about it, that your moment with the limited vision, it's not the purposeful movement. You're just shifting your weight from one leg to another leg. Either you stand firm on the both leg, either you can change little bit from one side to another side, that will give the impact. The best thing, the positive thing, what you have it, your smile and the confidence. Keep smile all the time, and we'll want to see you shining on the sky. And I will come again with my evaluations. And before that, I'm going to request Toastmasters Zeeshan to give the recommendation in 1 minute.
Thank you so much, DTM Saif. So with the commendation, and because it is my first time doing this type of evaluation, for the commendation, I would say that Toastmaster Saira used excellent background, and you had excellent gestures, body language and hand gestures. And the important part is, you kept engaging the audience with your questions. So it looked like a two-way process. So the whole audience got engaged due to your technique of asking questions and keeping the audience intact in your whole process of this speech. So that is all from my side. So I hand over the charge back to DTM Saif.
Thank you very much. Now, may I request DTM Talha bin Hamid for the recommendation.
Thank you so much, DTM Saif and Toastmaster Saira. I will echo the recommendation by the lead evaluator that maybe you could have utilized a little more movement that would have made the speech a little more expressive. And secondly, what I would recommend is that you use a song at the end. It would have been much more impactful if you had actually sung it according to the notes. That would have really driven the point home. But I admire your creativity in using those lyrics. It's just that maybe your speech could have been a little more expressive if you were a little farther away from the camera and you moved a little bit more. That would have made a world of difference to the significance of your message. That's all from my side. Over to you, DTM Saif.
Thank you very much, DTM Talha. Now I will request for commendations from DTM Sudharshan. You are here?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Saif. The topic itself was extremely relatable, and the anecdotes added value for us to understand what the speaker was trying to communicate. Overall, the message came through clearly simply because of the ease and simplicity of the content and the way it was delivered. Back to you, Toastmaster Saif.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Sudharshan. Now may I request Toastmaster Imran Choudhry for recommendation. Toastmaster Imran, are you here?
Yes. So, TM Saira, first off the bat, let me just clarify that your whole demeanor was very original and very, it made me feel very connected to you right from the start. So that's for one. The second is the message that you try to deliver is when you started off with saying that all mentors are liars, it just caught me by shock. The story, and then you use the anecdotes. It just made perfect sense, and I think I couldn't agree more at the end. I think hats off to you for that. And third, I think the song again. I would agree with Talha Ben Ahmed DTM Talha that I wanted to say that as well. That it would have been better if you sung it and close your speech on a very, very energetic high note. So that's all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Imran. Let me conclude our evaluations. You rightly mentioned about Saira. You start with the Big Bang and you created the suspense. And I was expecting this, the suspense should be broken at the end, not in between. You should continue with the lie. But before the conclusion, you have to narrate what you mean about the lie. Mean L mean lead, and I inspire, and E engage. That will give the more impact to your project. Overall, we really enjoy what you have shared with us and wishing you all the best for your next project. Over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, DTM Saif. And I will now invite Toastmaster Saira for a 1-minute response to the evaluations.
Thank you, DTM Talha. It was a wonderful set of evaluations, and especially coming from such diverse people, that added more value to the evaluations. And there have been so many points that I can work on and I can improve in future by taking guidance from those points. And I think that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Saira. And thank you, DTM Saif, for conducting an exemplary advanced evaluation session. It is something to learn for all of us as we are new to this discipline. Now it's time for our second speaker. And as I mentioned earlier, he's one of the most courageous people I know, because subjecting your speech to an advanced evaluation is like being a cucumber that's sliced and diced into 1,000 pieces and then asking them for a response is, cucumber, how did you like it? So Toastmaster Imran Choudhry, he is presenting his fourth project from level 1, presentation mastery, researching and presenting, false beliefs our birthright. Toastmaster Rabia Zeeshan will be the lead evaluator. Toastmaster Rabia, please explain the project.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the day, distinguished Toastmaster Ahmed. My targeted speaker today is Toastmaster Imran Choudhry, and his speech title is False Beliefs Are Birthright. The purpose statement of his project is, the purpose of this project is for the member to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. The member will present a well-organized, well-delivered speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. The speech content and style should work well together. The project is not a report on the content of the researching and presenting project. So Toastmaster Imran Choudhry, false beliefs are birthright. False beliefs are birthright. Toastmaster Imran Choudhry.
Thank you, DTM Talha and DM Rabia. Now, during most of my skeptic life, I've been annoyed by flat earthers and the like. It's recently that there has been Genesis, an accumulation of research-based studies that changed my mind and came to a conclusion. False belief is our birthright. To begin with, I want to share that as human beings, it's natural to assume that thinking is what takes place between your ears, but that's hardly where the magic really happens. Let me show you a video first. where I would like to start building my case. So, video. DTM Talha, can you please allow me to share a video?
You are a co-host, so you can share the video. You are already a co-host.
I am.
Wait, sorry. Wait. Apologies. Now you can.
All right. Thank you.
Oh. Oh. So?
All right. So this experiment gives us an insight on what really makes us special as human beings. What abilities do we excel at that other animals cannot master? You see how easily the young child reads the mind of the experimenter and then figures out how to coordinate his behavior to achieve the goal. He even makes eye contact as if to say, "I've got your back, mister." A child. This is so natural to us, to the point that it seems trivial, but it's actually incredibly difficult to design a cognitive system that's capable of collaboration. This is the real secret of our success as human beings. It's what separates us from all other creatures. For instance, in a beehive, you have an incredibly complex cluster of behavior. Food is collected and stored, the hives is protected from intruders, genetic diversity is introduced. Individually, their work doesn't amount to much, but collectively, a successful complex system emerges. The same is true for people. On our own, none of us knows that much. We don't have to, just like bees. We each have our own little slice of expertise, and our minds are built to collaborate and to share knowledge, which allows us to pursue incredibly complex goals. So that's the positive side of knowledge sharing story. But there's a flip side. We often fail to realize the limits of our own understanding. An example that can be used is, we all use it, surfing the internet. So I'm consuming what appears to be credible and true information. Once absorbed, I develop a strong belief. Now I feel like I understand because it comes from outside sources expressing strong beliefs. Because they feel they understand, but their sense of understanding comes from those around them, and so on and so forth. You see, individually, none of us knows enough to tell what's true and what's false, yet we hold such strong beliefs. We don't feel the need to verify, and that's how entire groups of people can come to believe things that aren't necessarily true. Now, the real tragedy occurs when we start to share the knowledge to those who have different beliefs than us. We live in the illusion that we have arrived in our own position via CS analysis. And when our persuasion is not enough, the conclusion, they're just too stupid to understand the truth. This is the truth. And there's actually a little bit of sense in which you'd be right to think that they may have not arrived to their position via a rational process of evidence.
I think he's frozen.
Okay, he's back. He's
Yeah,
back.
yeah, he's back. Okay, you froze up for a little while. We missed your last sentence.
All right, all right. So I'm just going to start the next. Okay. Via rational process of evidence evaluation, and they don't. So what I wanted to say was, I'm just going to repeat it, that when we think about the processes of persuading someone, it becomes a real problem. Think about how we talk about a controversial topic like feminism, for example. If you're liberal, women should have equal rights as men. If you're conservative, woman's place is inside the house, not outside. Now, as non-experts, we can't possibly do justice to an issue like that. Of course, we have to take positions on various subjects without knowing everything about them. And we have good sources and if we do have good sources of expertise in our communities and culture that values, we'll get right more often than not. But listen carefully. When we go through life feeling like we individually have it all figured out, it can lead to a wrapped and simplistic view of world. Even when people are ignorant, just bear in mind, most of them do have good intentions, despite of the fact. Okay, now the bad news, and I'm going to wrap it up. It's just too basic. We can never eradicate this false belief. It's just too basic to the way that we think. What we can do is practice a little more intellectual humility. We have a tremendous opportunity, an opportunity to improve the quality of our discourse by recognizing the limits of our understanding and by appreciating just how much of what we believe depends on around us. So while we are all eager to make quantum leaps here, my parting advice would be just to tread lightly and with a keen focus on empathy, because it seems as though false belief is, after all, our birthright. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Imran Choudhry. And I must say, you elevated your material to the flavor of the meeting today, and that is something commendable already. So without further ado, I hand over the charge to our lead evaluator, Toastmaster Rabia Zeeshan. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, distinguished Toastmaster Pervez. Okay. So Toastmaster Imran, that's okay, I understood. Toastmaster Imran Choudhry, what we saw today, you had to present, do a research and present a topic, and your topic was false belief, our birthright. I must say, the way you started, you first thanked your inviters, and you were in command from the very beginning today. And you had we could see you, we could see your body language, we could see your hand, we could see your expressions, and we were engrossed from the very start. So it was a very, very powerful opening that you gave us today. Secondly, I would also like to say the video you showed, it was very short and it had a very powerful message. So you did not waste any time showing a longer video or many slides, but that really short video explained and conveyed what you were trying to tell us in your research topic, and it was amazingly done. So kudos to that. Also, I would like to say that today your tone, you had a variety of your tonal quality was very good today. You had a lot of expression today. The way you reenacted the child's voice when you were telling, "Hey, oh, I have your back." So you tried your best to change your voice tone quality at that time. Similarly, you did that afterwards also when you were quoting someone else. The examples of the bees and the hives and the internet surfing, and when you came about that, you had that how easily it is for us to forward theories and forward things due to our internet and the social media surfing without even verifying. And that is so true in this era of time. And I think you did a lot of research on it. And I totally agree with your point that we should always try to be humble, and we should have humility. And we should not pass judgment just because someone is forwarding a message. And as DTM Talha said, you merged it with our education session today, that everyone has a different perspective. We all have a different focus point when we are seeing a hologram and wholesomeness. So maybe we should always give a, we should not judge people because maybe they are seeing from a different perspective point of view and we are seeing from a different perspective point of view. And that is what you explained brilliantly in your speech today. I cannot see the timer. Oh, here it is. Thank you so much for that. Further, I would also like to say that the thing which you were disconnected for a few seconds in between, but you very confidently gathered up and started from the same point and moved forward, and that is very commendable because it's very hard to know where you left and where you have to start. So it was a very good comeback for you. Even you didn't get disturbed by that. Also, your confidence level today and your tone quality today, I must say, was really good. You tried to bring your voice quality up and down when you were explaining the points. Your hand gestures could have been much better, a little more elaborate. When you were talking about mind, you could have pointed to your head, to your mind. When you were talking about beehive, you could have made a expression with the hand gestures about the beehive. Similarly, every time after you finished a topic, your hand claps again. I was watching that you were trying not to do it, but still it was that you have a habit of clapping your hand after every point you made. Also, please, and that's for everyone, I think for me also, we need to make pauses. We don't need to use so and to keep continuing our topic, and we need to make pauses. You use a lot of so's to keep on continuing. You can always take a pause, finish your sentence, and then start a new sentence. I would now like to take the recommendations and the commendations. I would like to call Toastmaster Sudharshan for the
just a second. Sorry, just a second. Toastmaster Jahanzeb, we can't see.
Yes,
your
I don't think
yes,
it's black. So I stopped myself. But I thought I had gone over time.
Okay, there's still 4 minutes 40 seconds.
Okay, I couldn't see it. That is
okay, no worries.
Okay.
No worries. So, okay, go ahead, Toastmaster.
Okay. For the commendations, I would like to call Toastmaster Sudharshan for the first commendation. Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here. Am I audible? Perfect. So first of all, very hearty congratulations to Toastmaster Imran for choosing such a divisive topic and then delivering a speech on that which not only captivated all of us, but ensured that it kept it within the decorum of Toastmasters and is something that I would like him to speak on every possible forum. The way he wove in the fact of women's liberation or women's rights into his speech and delivered it in such a palatable manner, it only conveyed that he was in full mastery of the subject matter and he knew what examples to deliver, and he also above all knew where the speech had its key impact. And to that extent, I would like to commend him for delivering a fantastic speech on a very relevant topic, which is useful for each and every one of us on this forum and probably in our day-to-day lives as well. So thank you very much for that, and back to you, Toastmaster Rabia.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sudharshan. For our next commendation, I would like to call Toastmaster Saira Pervez.
Thank you, Toastmaster Rabia. Toastmaster Imran, I have got not one, but 3 good observations about your speech today. First of all, your camera placement was excellent, and it has a few points for me to learn from as well. And secondly, I loved your expressions, especially the intellectual humility. That's a good expression and very thought-provoking as well. And lastly, especially the gestures, especially the one when you said that all the thinking takes place between the ears and the magic doesn't end there. Those gestures were amazing and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Saira. Now let's have some recommendations. So first, I'd like to call DTM Talha for the recommendation.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rabia. So delivered like a boss, as always, and that's what I love about your style. Your whole room is visible to us, and we can see we are into your world while you're delivering a speech. That's commendable. Just a few suggestions. First of all, during the latter part of the speech, your flow was not as robust as it could have been in earlier. So maybe a little more practice could have ensured that your fluency and your flow of thoughts remained the same. The quality remained the same as per your earlier part of your speech. The second recommendation would be that today I saw that your movement could have been a little more purposeful versus what it was. So maybe you could plan your movement a little more. Not that it was too distracting, but maybe if it was planned a little more, it could have been more impactful. So with that, over to you, Toastmaster Rabia.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Talha. I would like to call for the second recommendation, Toastmaster Meher Tanveer.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rabia. First of all, my thanks to Toastmaster Imran for selecting such a wonderful topic. And it seemed like it was just tailor-made for this meeting. It was like an extension of the keynote speech. And I loved your action points that we should have intellectual humility and empathy. For recommendations, I would like to reinforce distinguished Toastmaster Talha's recommendation in the sense that gestures, I did feel personally that they were a little bit distracting. I felt that the stance also, that at the beginning you could like have a more purposeful stance where you are at the center, and then when you're making different points, move purposefully to the left or right of your stage. Your stage, of course, as Toastmaster Saira said, your camera placement was wonderful. Let's use that in a more effective way. I think we can do even better. And one more thing I would like to suggest is if you could, if we could see more energy, then that would also reduce the appearance of slight nervousness, which of course everyone has, but more energy displays an amplified confidence, and amplified enthusiasm attracts the audience even more, and it displays conviction in what you are saying. And the message of your speech was so wonderful that I feel that the energy, an increased energy in your delivery would have further amplified the impact of your speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Meher. And just to sum it up, the evaluation, you had great clarity and great vocabulary, and you had amazing eye contact with the audience. Gestures could be improved a little bit. Audience awareness was perfect, and you had a great comfort level with your surroundings and your area, and the interest, the topic. And I must say that the genesis of this club plus your topic, they merged really well. And it was a well-researched topic that you gave us today. So back to you, Toastmaster of the day. That's all.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rabia. And now for a 1-minute response by the speaker, Toastmaster Imran. Over to you.
Thank you.
Response to the evaluations.
Thank you. I'm audible? Yeah. So first of all, I'm so glad each time that I present and I get so many valuable feedbacks. It's not just not wishy-washy thoughts or just something to say. You guys add so much to my substance whenever I deliver, and every time I have extremely valuable things to learn from. Obviously, most of the things, not most of them, few of the things have been repeating continuously during my feedback, and that's something very seriously I'm taking, but it does take time. But it's just especially about the expression. I think I strongly feel that I need to work on that, but these things takes time. It just encourages me more to repeat my speeches on as soon as possible, so I can increase and show the growth. Thank you so much for everyone for the feedback.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Imran. And it does take a courageous man to subject them three of their speeches from level 1 to advanced evaluation. And trust me, you have accelerated your progress by doing that, and everybody can see that. With that, we move on to the next segment of our meeting, which is the table topic session. And leading the session will be my good friend and our good friend, DTM Sudharshan. DTM Sudharshan, over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible and visible. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, congratulations for taking the quantum leap and becoming a part of the takeoff plan on this voyage to where we've gone, but we want to keep going, and we will keep continuing on our quest to be those people that blaze a trail, not just within Toastmasters, but across the universe in itself. And what better start could we have had but to have a keynote speech from Skynels and Isaac, who has provoked our thoughts and who has intrigued us to the extent that I'm sure a lot of us will go back, if not to quantum physics, at least to our school and college physics textbooks, and figure out how much we've forgotten from the time we started. So to that extent, let's give him a big round of applause to start with. As I can see across my screen, most of you are Toastmasters. So without wasting too much time, I'll quickly go over the ground rules. We will speak for a minimum of a minute, a maximum of 2 minutes with a grace period of 30 seconds. There will be a topic given by me, and each speaker that comes up on stage will take up the topic and deliver a coherent speech for the time allocated. And if you are to be eligible for voting, you need to wrap it up within 2 minutes and 30 seconds. As usual, we don't speak about the taboo topics, sex, religion, or politics. However, everything else under the sun literally is acceptable. So let's crack on with it. I have 5 topics which are in keeping with the theme of today's meeting and in keeping with the general ethos of what we are on our quest to understand. So to start with, I would like to see a volunteer come up on stage. If not, I'm going to pick. The choice is yours.
I would like to volunteer.
Has unmuted herself. So yes, Meher, you will be the first speaker.
Yes,
could we
sir.
have your video on if possible, or are you going to speak just with your audio on?
Sir, my video is on. Perhaps my bandwidth is low. Maybe that's why you can't see it.
No problem at all, because I can only see a black screen. So that's why I was asking. No issues. Your question, Meher, is very simply, can you imagine Earth if there was no gravity? Can you imagine Earth if there was no gravity? Toastmaster Meher.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Sudharshan Seshadri. Can I imagine Earth if there was no gravity? And the simple answer to that, distinguished Toastmaster, is that in fact, earlier this year, we all defied gravity in this wonderful meeting that we had in virtual space, where we met Toastmasters from all around the world and displayed our achievements as District 122, Pakistan. So keeping in theme with the defying gravity that we have had this year, if we would literally imagine Earth not to have any gravity, well, I would be over the moon, because it would be just like being on the moon. No gravity, no weight. No weight, I can eat whatever I want. And if I can eat whatever I want, I can be as happy as I want. If I'm as happy as I want, I can keep others happy. And if I keep others happy, then we will all be floating around in space, as happy as balloons, as happy as clouds, as happy as birds, and as happy as the trees that touch the sky, and as happy as the mountains that whisper to the upper stratosphere all day long. In fact, it had been my childhood dream to learn how to fly and be a pilot since the day I can remember. And perhaps if Providence gives me that chance, I might yet learn to fly an airplane. But meanwhile, I did jump into one opportunity to learn paragliding. And my, oh my, what an extraordinary experience that was. So although I crash landed on my first attempt and grazed my knees and fell flat on my face in the mud with the parachute dragging me all the way until it stopped due to the friction, in my second attempt, I did indeed make a perfect landing. Just goes to show that if we try to defy gravity, eventually we can, and eventually we can achieve all our dreams. So sky is the limit. Over to you, distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Your theme song, Mayor, should be I Believe I Can Fly. And that's what you should open every speech of yours with. Thank you very much for that. Next, can I have a volunteer or do I pick? Rabia, would you like to try the next one? Fabulous. Thank you very much. Your topic is, if time was not a variable, how would you visualize progress? If time was not a variable, how would you visualize progress? Toastmaster Rabia.
Toastmaster Rabia, we can't hear you actually. Can you
You're not
tweak?
audible.
Yeah. Can you tweak? You're not muted, but we can't hear you. So maybe just change your equipment.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Okay, just turn off my earphones. Toastmaster Sudharshan. If time was not a variable, how can you repeat the topic again?
Yes.
Sorry.
If time was not a variable, how would you visualize progress?
Okay. If time was not a variable, how will I visualize progress? Well, we all know time and tide waits for none. And if time was not a variable, I think many of us would progress according to what we wish for. And for example, I am 37 years old, alhamdulillah. And if time was not a variable, I would have attempted to achieve a lot of things which I cannot achieve due to the time past gone by, or my time being busy with my kids and my family and some other things. But yes, I would have progressed a lot if that was not the boundary. I would have achieved many of my dreams. Like, for example, I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to be a doctor. There are lots of dreams that we cannot achieve because time is a variable. And this being said, I think still what we can achieve, we should achieve that. And it's all about organizing our life, which can be done within that time too. So there is to life, there is to opportunities. And I think time is a variable, but we can do what we want if we are willing to do it. When there is a will, there is a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very wonderful take on that. Next up, could I call Toastmaster Khurram Saeed? If you're here. Looks like he is busy with something else. Let's move on and come back to Khurram.
No, sorry, I was on mute and speaking. Sorry.
No
He's
worries,
here.
no worries. Yeah, great. So the topic for you is time flows in one direction. Do you agree? Time flows in one direction. Do you agree?
So the time flows in one direction, and I don't agree in that because maybe in the word of physics, but not in the word of emotions, because we always keep looking back. We keep looking into our childhood. We keep looking into our young age. We always live in our past. We always think of our future. So definitely we are living in the present. We are in present, but we never look and we don't see with that what we have right now. We don't see that what I can do in my present, but I always think what I have done in my past, I should not do that, right? And oh my God, what I will do now in the future. Oh, how I will do now that. Okay, next week the Toastmaster meeting is coming and I'm a speaker. Oh my God. Now it's only 24 hours left and I did not do my practice. So what we are doing all the time, either in the past, either in the future, and we are actually staying in the present. So how I can believe that the time flow in one direction? So to me, it is this direction and that direction and this direction. So it's all over the all over the way. It's three-dimensional. So this all purely believe in what you are doing according to your time reality. Because again, time is relative according to the Einstein. And because we are not facing that situation, we are always thinking that it is going in one direction, non-reversible. Believe me, Toastmaster, time is everywhere. Time is three-dimensional, and we are revolving around that. Over to you, table topic master.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Khurram. So for the next topic, would anyone like to volunteer? Now that you've seen 3 topics, they're all related to the theme. If someone is interested, please come forward. Otherwise, I will call as I have been doing. So could I have Toastmaster Subhan attempting the next topic? Are you there, Toastmaster Subhan?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. So the topic for you is the universe is an eternal cycle of energy transfer. Do you agree? The universe is an eternal cycle of energy transfer. Do you agree? Toastmaster Subhan.
It's a very scientific topic, and I'm not so familiar with the science. And can you repeat, please?
Sure. The universe is an eternal cycle of energy transfer. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree that it gives a lot of energy, and if it's not internal energy, the thing will not move at all. It is the energy that we see so many changes in nature, in our whole life, in so many invention, and it gives a lot of improvement every day, and we have see so many invention in every field of life. And this is the energy that keep us moving, life, keep the life moving, and we see different ideas, different design, and different people, different see we get the chance to see different things, different invention in the world, and we enjoy the life. And if there is no energy, there is no life in it. We don't see anything new in it. And every day we're seeing a new thing. There are new changes coming in every field of life. Like in IT industry, we see different design in computer, mobile, and different like Zoom. So without energy, we are nothing. There is no life in achievement in our life. Back to.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Subhan. Do we have time for one more topic, or should I stop here?
I think we can have one more. I can.
Great. So the last topic for the afternoon, evening, morning, whatever the case may be. Could I request Toastmaster Mubina to attempt this? Toastmaster Mubina?
I'm evaluating.
Oh, you are evaluating. Okay. So then, is there anyone else that is not playing a role? I know Toastmaster Asghar came into the meeting just now. Would you like to attempt the topic? The screen seems frozen to me, at least. Are you there, Toastmaster Asghar?
He's there.
Yeah, he's there.
Sir, unmute yourself, please.
I am in a crowded place. I am in a crowded, but if you think if I can speak, if I can, if you all of you get me, it's crowded place, I'm ready to do it. Otherwise, I want to be mute and just witness to be. Sorry.
No, fair enough, because I think there is a problem with the connection as well, because I could not hear you very clearly.
Sorry.
So maybe
yes,
the next time we could have you speak. Yeah. Sorry about that. Toastmaster Azam Ali, if you are available. If no one else is, then I will give it to Toastmaster Talha.
Please, yes, Toastmaster Azam is there. He unmuted
Yeah,
himself.
Toastmaster Azam
Thank
is-
God. Yeah.
Toastmaster Azam, the topic for you is each of us encompasses the cosmos within us. Do you agree? Each of us encompasses the cosmos within us. Do you agree?
Sorry, your voice.
My voice broke. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Each of us encompasses the cosmos within us. Do you agree? Is it me or is he not speaking yet?
Toastmaster Azam, are you there? Are you speaking? I think there's a problem with his connection because I can see him unmuted, but he's on audible. Yeah.
So Toastmaster Talha, in the interest of time, why don't you attempt this topic?
Okay. Okay. Each one of us encompasses the cosmos within us. It literally requires an infinite amount of time to actually even make an attempt to respond to this question. What do you interpret the cosmos to be? For example, we are all made of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms, and atoms are made of so-called elementary particles, and those so-called elementary particles are still made of more particles. And there's a host of fields and forces that govern the basic structure of matter to the extent that we've seen them. And then there are various quantum states and flavors of all those particles. So even if we were to dig down what really constitutes, for example, an element as simple as hydrogen, it would take us ages. Nevertheless, people try to do it. And then there's another cosmos inside us in terms of our whole being, the processes that go inside every living thing, the processes that go inside every mind. And then there's a third cosmos that is a virtual cosmos existing in the form of our thoughts and ideas and aspirations and history. Come to think of it, each and every one of you, if you could see, hear, touch, feel, or if you were asleep, would the cosmos exist? At least not for you. And whether it exists outside of what you can see or hear or feel, that's debatable, right? Because there's no way for you to absolutely find that out. So if you're dreaming and if you're asleep, or even right now, how do you know this is not a dream? There's a whole cosmos of possibilities of quantum states that you could be in, and each of one of those could be true. And like our keynote speaker said, sometimes to really reach at reality, we don't have to create something, but we have to eliminate and then arrive at something that is tangible. So that is my take on the topic, and over to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, that concludes the table topic session for today. Given the time that we had, I had chosen 5 topics, and I must commend the members for attempting these pretty arcane topics in a very, very erudite manner. So thank you very much for that. I was very, very afraid that these topics might not be palatable, but turns out that I was wrong, and I'm in the company of some very, very eminent Toastmasters and thinkers who have attempted all of these topics. And I would like to get a feedback from our keynote speaker. What did he think about these topics, and do they even make sense?
Oh, I so enjoyed the topics. They were so, yes, they made sense, and they were so interesting to follow. And the creativity of each of the Toastmasters who spoke on them, these were all impromptu, right? Not prepared.
Impromptu, completely.
And they weren't even aware of the topic beforehand. So I just love the creativity, and I really honor the intent of this club to explore topics that are so inspiring and awe-inducing. So thank you for bringing it to a whole nother level.
Thank you very much for your kind words. So Mr. Timer, could you please let us know which of the speakers have spoken within the time allocated, and therefore eligible for voting? You're on mute, timer.
Yes, everyone has qualified.
Fantastic.
All the timers,
Good.
yes. All the
Toastmaster
speakers.
Yeah, Toastmaster Talha, would we be having polling or?
Yeah, we can have polling. Just give me a few moments and I'll float the poll. Meanwhile, if you can privately send me the list of speakers just so I don't miss anyone.
Yeah,
In a few moments,
I'll do that right away. I'll do that right away. You can carry on with the meeting. So back to you, Toastmaster Talha.
Thank you so much, DTM Sudharshan, and hats off to you. The topics that you chose for today have raised the bar really high, and for all other members, this is the standard of the table topic session that we need to have in this particular session. And I also must second our keynote speaker. I'm absolutely floored by how people attempted the topics with confidence and with panache and with boldness. But this is not really a surprise because someone who elects to be a member or be a part of a club that is openly for geeks, by geeks, that shouldn't come as a surprise. So this is where we all learn that geekdom is beautiful and it can be transcendent. It can be inspiring. Let's all be geeks. So with that, I will hand over the charge now to our journal evaluator, Toastmaster Khurram Saeed Chishti. Over to you, Toastmaster Khurram.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day. Before I give my journal evaluation report, the evaluator is helped with a set of team members. So I will like to call upon my team members to start giving the report on the role holders. So I would like to call upon Toastmaster Mobina Rauf for the language evaluation report.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I will start with the word of the day, which was used by DTM Saif Sheikh, DTM Talha, and the speakers, Toastmaster Saira, Toastmaster Imran, and Toastmaster Rabia. Very well used. Now, coming to the not so good usages. Firstly, I would say that I take English as a lingua franca, so I don't believe in pinpointing all the mistakes and errors because most of us are second language speakers and we have to a limit, the license to speak in a certain way. But still, I have a short list of not so good usages and words. The word perspective was mispronounced as prospective. It's perspective, not prospective. Somebody said, by having said this, it's a phrase which is having said that. Assigned, it's an assigned. And keep smile, it's keep smiling. And somebody said cognitive, it's cognitive. And then somebody used a phrase perspective, point of view. It's redundant. It's either perspective or point of view. And one more thing, my mentor told me when I joined Toastmasters years back, that the speakers should never thank at the end of their speeches. It is on the part of the audience to thank them. Some good usages, and I have a long list of that. Geek of the week, avidly, limits of science are exhausted, we have to look somewhere else. Loneliness, pattern space, fence post. Toastmaster Sky had an endless list of words and phrases. The filters we use, absolutely phenomenal, captivated, erudite manner, the internal sense, the lens of your filter, and then the speakers, profound impact, see somebody as our North Star, and Toastmaster Saira meant the mentor as a North Star. Lead, inspire, engage, and then what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and Toastmaster Imran Choudhry, where the magic really happens, incredibly complex cluster of behavior. There's a flip side. None of us knows enough. And it goes on and on and on. In table topics, the topics were incredible. And the way the speakers spoke on those topics was indeed awesome. And it really is a club of geeks. I can imagine that. The first speaker, just like being on the moon, as happy as balloons. And if time was not a variable, what a fantastic idea. We are in the present, but we are not in it. So thoughtful. Time is three-dimensional, and we are revolving around it. And then a virtual cosmos existing in the form of our ideas, thoughts, and histories. The cream, the cherry on the cake was, of course, Toastmasters Sky's presentation. And it was, I have a long list of sentences and phrases. I'm not going to read everything, but a few. A rainbow is beautiful because of what is not there. The filters we construct lead us to partial stories. Music illustrates the mathematics of harmony. And the only thing we have found that makes emptiness bearable is each other. And instead of life coming at you, you are moving along a time with touch points. This is also so thought-provoking. Our filters keep us away from reality, and absolutely phenomenal, as GTM Talha said. And I would end my report with a phrase used by Toastmasters Saad in the chat, intergalactic adventure. I'm really, really honored to be in this meeting, and it was actually an intergalactic adventure. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, language evaluator of the day. What a great feedback. Now I'd like to call upon Toastmaster Jahanzeb Shah for the time evaluation. I think we have already done that. I think the only thing which has not been done is the prepared speakers timing. So can you please
Yes.
share that?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So as far as the prepared speeches timings are concerned, we had Madam Saira Pervez, who spoke for 6 minutes and 49 seconds. So she is qualified. And then we had Mr. Imran Choudhry. He spoke for 8 minutes and 50 seconds. So he overran by quite some time. So that is all from this prepared speaking session. And the evaluation, the first evaluation was 7 minutes and 3 seconds. And the second evaluation overran for 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 10 minutes and 40 seconds. So that is all from the prepared speeches segments. That's all from my side. Over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, timer of the day. Now, I would like to call upon Toastmaster Meher Tanveer to give a very, in my 1 year life of Toastmaster, that was the most scariest counter, introduction she have given. So I'd like to, call upon her for giving the counter report.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Khurram Saeed. Is it Saeed Khurram? Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Okay, so people, I hereby declare myself the most annoying Toastmaster of this meeting before I begin, so that you are all ready and buckled up to hear the count report. I think we should go from lowest to highest. First of all, congratulations to Toastmaster Moiz Naeem. I don't think he participated as such, but congratulations to Toastmaster Saad Shoaib, no account. Distinguished Toastmaster Sudharshan, 1 account. And then after that, we start with the counts. Toastmaster Subhan Qayyum, 4. Toastmaster Rafia Puri, 5. Distinguished Toastmaster Saif, 5. Toastmaster Saira Pervez, 4. Toastmaster Rabia Zeeshan, 13. Toastmaster Imran Choudhry, 13. Toastmaster Jahanzeb Shah, 8. Toastmaster Khurram Saeed, 7. Toastmaster Mubina, 24. And the king of accounts is distinguished Toastmaster Talha for today with 41 accounts. A round of applause for all of you. Over to you, Toastmaster Khurram.
Thank you, Toastmaster Maher Tanveer. Such a detailed and great evaluation. Fellow Toastmaster, let me now go to the general evaluation report. So general evaluator, what he's doing, he is the ear, eyes, and sound, and sometime, a bit of a virtual nose of the meeting. And that's what I have been doing on the back end since the meeting has been started. Let me say by the word, wow, what a level of meeting has been started on the first meeting when we are sitting together here. The level that has been raised today has set the level we need to reach in the future, far beyond taking the quantum leaps. Let me start with some of the things which inspires me a lot, starting with the geek part, which is quite unusual, and we learn a lot about a new session, which is Arrow, and I'm going to start watching that one as well. Thank you very much for that. The keynote speaker was amazing, and since myself being a geek in whole my life, so some of the things I resonate with, all that Fourier transformations, and the things I learned today was the Lorex process and how we can apply and remove the filters out of our life to see it in a newer perspective. So thank you very much for that, and that was quite a positive part of the meeting. Another part which I would say was quite new for, I believe, most of the Toastmasters, and especially for myself, was the advanced way of doing the evaluation. And I believe the privilege these prepared speakers took today is nonetheless they have taken before. I would say again, the 3-dimensional evaluation. So evaluation coming from your main evaluator, then your co-speaker, then the other guy. So really, you get a detailed ingredient of everything what you have spoken, and what you should do it for next time. So that was a great thing. And then nonetheless, the table topics. I mean, I believe that these were the most, I would say, geeky topics I have seen in 1 year of my Toastmaster journey. And I'll be very happy and proud to say, being a part of those 5 speakers, that we took it nonetheless. So thank you very much, Sudharshan, for bringing such a great table topic. But as we all know, that for everything which is great, have a shadow of that. There's a room of improvement for everything. I will start with some of the improvements suggested for the next meeting. The agenda was shared of 15 minutes earlier, and then there was I believe during some communications there were the communication to started at 11, so there was a bit of a disconnect, and we all started at 15 minutes after that. So that's a watch out for next time. I will recommend also the general evaluator to be on the meeting 5 to 10 minutes earlier, which he joined only on spot at 11. So that's a recommendation for the general evaluator. Since we are on the virtual environment right now, I would recommend with all the geeks around that if we have a bit of a guideline that how our backgrounds should look like, how our technical part should be there, that will help us a lot to see it better, how our color contrast is. I see the geek part, the color contrast of the shirt of the speaker and the curtains was exactly the same. So, you know, there was a very difficult to recognize between him and his curtains. No hard feelings, but that's just the technical feedback. So those kind of technical feedbacks on the online environment would be helpful for all the members. One thing also I have observed that the Toastmaster of the day, if he keep pinging on the point that every speaker should pin the timer, that will help a lot in you know, in the online environment, to make sure that you take care of your time. So because that point has not been raised so many times, most of the people, they didn't pin the timer, and so in most of the cases you can see that the time has been over in some of the speeches. Another part which I like, and I would recommend again, and that was being taken by the Toastmaster of the day, is the video. I have seen some of the people who were open with the video, and their expressions were, you know, helping all of us to, you know, be engaged in the meeting, right? So I see Toastmaster Rabia. I mean, she was so expressional in anybody who's speaking so many things, and I learned a lot from her today, that how we can be expressive even without speaking. So that's a great point that we all should use by opening our video. And I would recommend that within the online environment we are, but at least a nature break, a 5-minute nature break in the 2.5 hour or 2 hour of a meeting is a very important point. So that's the general evaluation. Overall, great meeting. I'm handing over the charge back to the Toastmaster of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, General Valvator. My goodness, that was one of the best GE reports that I've heard. That was the best accounting report I've heard, and like that was the best language evaluation I've ever heard. So absolutely fantastic, and your feedback is beyond valuable, General Evaluator. And I believe as the prospective VP Education, I will implement all of those things. Thank you so much for taking out the time and noting everything in such minute detail. Before handing over the charge to our president, I will just say one thing, that in many advanced meetings, I haven't seen voting being done for speeches, but perhaps this is something we will implement across the board in the next meeting. There's no harm in creating a bit of excitement. So today, the voting was only for table topics, but maybe again, in the subsequent meetings, it could be for speakers as well and for role players as well. So thank you so much once again, Toastmaster Khurram Saeed. And over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day. Fellow Toastmaster, did you enjoy the meeting today? Oh, open your sound and then say something. Did you enjoy
Yay!
it?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So our VP Education set the tune of this club. So be ready for more excitement in upcoming meetings. Our next meeting is this Friday, 11 p.m. Is it right, VP Education?
So most probably it will be it will be 2 weeks from now. That is the initial plan.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The agenda will be circulated and the meeting time and the date will be announced later. And quickly we can have the comments from Rabia first.
Toastmaster Rabia, I think, yeah, we can hear you.
It was an amazing meeting. I was given the invitation by Toastmaster Talha and Toastmaster Rabia, and I'm glad that I joined today, because otherwise I would have missed such a good opportunity to learn so much learned so much about the evaluations as well as the speeches. So it was an amazing experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. May I request Subhan Qayyum to express your feeling? Toastmaster Subhan, you are with us?
Yes, yes. That's it, Sheikh. How are you?
Yes, fine, Alhamdulillah. Your feeling about the meeting today?
Actually, I joined the meeting late, but whatever I listened, it was very awesome, impressive. Everyone has spoken very well, especially the number one Toastmaster. I don't know her name. He has spoken very well. The overall standard of the meetings is very good, and I am so much impressed. And I would like to thank everyone in this meeting. And inshallah, next meeting, I will try to join in the beginning. Then I can evaluate the meeting well. Thank you.
Yes, you, Toastmaster Subhan, you don't have any options because you are going to escort Mubina. So you must be the part of this club.
Of course. Of course, yeah.
Toastmaster Saira, after getting the evaluations from the 4 or 5 times, and after evaluations, what is your thought about your project?
So that's a good question. I think, first of all, to your point that I could have shared my own experience. It was my own experience to some extent, as I was part of that District 122 event, which was an exhibit event. But yes, my direct one-on-one connection with my mentor, that sort of experience I could include. So that is something that I'll keep in mind when I do my speech next time. And camera placement is another thing that I have to work on. So I'll work on my weaknesses. As far as the good points that have been mentioned, I'm thankful for those. So that's all about my thoughts on my project.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Saira. Let's move to Toastmaster Imran. You were stuck in between. Please open the mic, please.
Yeah.
You were stuck in between, and after that you was nervous. What forced you to be the nervous? Because you are a confident speaker.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking. Actually, I was well aware during the preparation of my speech that it's going to take a long time for me to wrap it up. And adding on top of that, the disturbance, actually that made me nervous, and I tried so hard to wrap the things within time, but as you know, I failed. So that was the part which made me a bit nervous.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Imran. And let me ask Mubina, Toastmaster Mubina. What a wonderful grammarian report as usual from the last 20 years I have seen you.
You want to ask something specific?
Yes, definitely. I ask you for specific, what is the difference between today's meeting and the others meeting you have attended last 20 years?
I think, again, my hours have started, Toastmaster Meher. I can't get rid of them. I couldn't get rid of them in 20 years. Anyway, this meeting, I was impressed by the substance of the meeting, the way the speakers spoke and the topics given to them, and even the speeches they were all so deep and thought-provoking that I'm really amazed and impressed by the whole experience of it. And it is, I love the term intergalactic adventure. It was literally an intergalactic adventure. And I'm so glad to meet all these people in my country and from even from India, Toastmaster DTM Sudharshan and everybody. And Toastmaster Sky, his presentation was awesome, amazing. And it is different, like it is different from our usual Toastmasters meetings in the scientific way that it was presented. And it was really impressive and awesome. And I would love to continue this experience.
Oh, most welcome. We would like to see you in our meeting so we can improve our language. Toastmaster Sudharshan, how much time you spent to create the table topic?
To be very, very honest with you, I created the table topics after I logged into this meeting.
Okay.
I had some thoughts in my mind, but I had not really penned it down. But when the meeting started and when DTM Talha started speaking, the topics automatically started flowing from the words that he was using. So then I created those topics just on the spur. Because like table topics, I thought the topic should also be fresh out of the oven.
Oh, that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Let's move to Toastmaster Rabia. 30 seconds for you to speak because you took extra time during the evaluation.
Sure. What's the question?
Your comments on the meeting.
Amazing meeting, and I was mesmerized by the way, because I really love the topic empathy and humility and humbleness, and how it was related by our keynote speaker to the scientific and the quantum leap and the hologram idea. I really, really loved it.
Oh, that's great. Toastmaster Meher, after long time, I have heard the counter report, so professional report. From where you inspired to make, from where you inspire, who inspired you to make the report like this?
Well, thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Saif. Actually, because I recently joined a newly chartered club, Mohsen Lodi Executives Toastmasters Club. So they are very particular about the R's, and they pick their kings and queens as well. So I have learned from, I have further learned from there. But of course, my home club is Rawalpindi Toastmasters Club, from where I picked up all my basics. So combined and learning from all of you amazing seasoned Toastmasters, I finally came up with a report, which I am so glad that you found it funny enough not to kill me at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters. So nice of you for your comments and feedback, and we'll definitely going to incorporate in our next meeting. And by this, I adjourn this meeting. So officially meeting is adjourned. So networking is still there. We can talk off the record now. The recording should be stopped now.
More announcement, and that is the winner of the table topics, and that is to absolutely no one's surprises, Toastmaster Meher. So congratulations.